What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Real Talk Real Estate. Today's guest is not originally from real estate environment or real estate community. He is an IT specialist, software developer, worked for companies like Salesforce, Blackstorm, and so many great and good work he has done in the IT sectors. However, he got into real estate only a couple of years ago and already 5x his portfolio. Let me introduce you to Mofizul Chowdhury bhai. How are you doing, brother?
Doing great. I'm great to be here. Thank you,
Well,
Chironjit.
thank you for coming. You are working with Remax Lux for last couple of years, and I invited you, and you wholeheartedly accepted it. I feel very grateful. Why? I know that I could not introduce you good enough, so I would like to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to my viewers, please.
No problem. I think you did great.
Oh, thank you.
First of all, thank you, Chironjit, for inviting me to your show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. As he already mentioned, my name is Mofizul Chowdhury. I am a licensed real estate salesperson from Remax Luxe. My number is 917-482-5042. As you briefly mentioned, I do come from a different background. I did not start with a real estate background. After graduating out of Baruch College, I entered the workforce, and I've worked through my career for several years. I've worked for many different companies, including Salesforce, Dropbox, Blackstone, just to name a few. And through this journey, it allowed me to grow myself by interacting with different set of people, discipline, and processes. And then eventually, I find myself into transitioning into real estate, which where I've been for the last 2 to 3 years. And I'm here to serve and do the best I can.
You're doing outstanding, bhai. You're doing outstanding. Today's podcast will focus on mostly how the transition from IT sectors and real estate is going, what's kind of take and intake you have, and then maybe what my viewers can take from you. I know there could be a hundreds, if not thousands, IT personnels are looking for diversify their skills and stuff, and I think like you are someone who is the right person to give them some good ideas. But my first question, what I want to start with, tell me how can a home buying process go smoothly?
So the home buying process, in my opinion, is broken into three broad categories, and I'll break down a little bit. So the first one is the readiness phase, then the actual search phase, and then it ends up with the what you call closing or execution or finishing phase. So what I mean by the readiness, that's your a couple of different things. So one is your willingness to buy. Are you mentally ready? Do you know what you want? What kind of properties you're looking for? What is it that you want? How do you see yourself in the next few years? Where do you want to live? That sort of things. Making an early determination on what you want to do. So that goes into that first phase. It also involves your financial readiness, which is very important, not to be overlooked. Do you have the funds? Do you have the right amount of down payments? Do you have the loan qualification? Do you have a job? Do you have reserve money? All of that stuff. So the personal and emotional readiness, as well as the financial readiness, that goes in the first phase. Once you're, and then along with that would be, getting yourself a pre-approval. That is very important. I could roll that all into that first phase of getting yourself ready to hit the market. Once you have that, then you go into the actual looking for a house. That's the search phase, where you work with a realtor and then see what's out there, the kind of properties you're looking for. Does it match the areas? If you might have a specific preference, a certain place you want, certain type of property, single family, multiple family. Do you want to rent? Do you want something that is owner occupied? All of that stuff. So you go through that process. Once you feel that you found a property that is good for you, then you go into the third process where the actual transaction is about to take place. You place an offer, negotiate the price, followed by, if that is accepted, you would do an inspection, followed by your loan process that will eventually end up into getting through the entire process. Your loan is cleared, your the title checks out, everything is good, you're ready for closing. You go for a final check of the property, what we call the final inspection or final walkthrough, and then that will lead you to the
Closing
big beautiful
table.
day. Yes, the
Yes.
closing table.
Yes.
Yes, so that's what it is.
Well, you mentioned on the segment 2 or phase 2, there is that you calculate what your window is, how much you can afford or not. As you from IT sectors, the IT sectors is very much well established as far as the money is concerned, right? So making six figures will automatically qualify someone as a home buyer. What's your take on that?
The answer is it's not a straight yes or no answer. Making six figure does not necessarily relate to or translate to home affordability, and I'll say why. It depends on a lot of other factors. Just because you're making a certain amount of money doesn't necessarily mean everything else is working for you.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, like, do you have good credit? Do you have enough down payment saved up to pay for the home? Do you have other loans that you might be tied up with? Are there other commitments that you have in your life going on that requires a certain amount of funding that may render you unfit to buy a home? So there's a lot of other things, and these are just the financial side of things. There could be other things also, your stuff going on in your life. Are you ready to move? Are you ready to, does this, wherever you are trying to buy a home, does it work for your lifestyle?
There's a whole emotional
Yes,
sector
that
to
is
it.
true, not to be overlooked.
Not to be overlooked.
The way I answer is this: yes, money is important to buy a home. Of course, you can't start getting into a buying process if you don't have the funding, but that does not necessarily relate or result into the being able to buy a home, because there are other factors that to be considered.
So you came from IT sectors. When you go sit down with a client or potential client, how you make them realize that your IT knowledge actually gonna help them with the home buying process?
Right. So the experience that I bring in, I believe it does help in many different ways. So as I can see, if I compare from what I was doing before to what I'm doing now, everything is, to me, is a process. There's a start, there's a middle, and then there's an end. So just like how I was doing in my previous journey, if I'm responsible for something, to deliver something, there's always some requirements, something that needs to be done. There's a plan, there's a set of action that needs to be followed, and then you actually get into that execution mode where
Yes.
you're working yourself, or you're working towards meeting those plan or those requirements, and then it is your responsibility, it is my responsibility to make sure that I see it through to the end. The same exact analogy I apply to the business that I'm doing now, where I consider this as a wholesome process, where if I'm working with a client, they have a specific need, they have a specific requirement. I need to understand what they're looking for, what is good for them, what I should be doing for them in order to reach their goal. And then I tailor myself or my plan to work accordingly that meets their needs. And then eventually you will see yourself along with your client through to the end.
Well, thank you, Mofis bhai. So that is how a home buyer get help from your IT knowledge. Now, tell me, when you see a house, how is your IT brain calculate differently from a general or a regular realtor?
Sure. The way I look at it, when I'm looking at a house or working with clients, and to make sure that they're getting the best bargain or they're getting their requirements met, is I look at a property with the lens of a professional, where I can identify potential risks and as well as make data-driven decisions. So risk meaning, does the property have anything to be alarmed of? Does it meet what the client is looking for? Are there things that they need to be aware of? And it could be financial risk. It could be it doesn't always have to be a physical conditional type of risk.
So this question comes up a lot, and it goes like this. Every time a buyers try to buy a house, there's something they must have overthink. right? What are some of the things that buyers overthink often?
Great question. So one of the things that I notice where people overcomplicate is unnecessary speculation. Like literally, this is something that we all find ourselves into at different points, not just
Yes.
in real estate. So what I mean by this is there are things that you can control, and then there are things that are beyond your control.
Yes.
So let's focus on things that you can, and don't worry or don't let other things that are beyond your control bog you down. When will the interest rate drop? Is there a boom coming? Is there a crash coming? If I should I wait 6 more months,
Yes.
or all of a sudden turns out your friend's cousin's best friend is an expert in everything, and he happens to tell you that you should wait 6 more months and watch the market slide,
Oh,
or things are
there is
just going to
another
fly
crush
into you.
coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something's happening, something earth shattering is happening. Don't get bogged down by those what I call
Oh,
myth. Like
yes.
literally, go with facts, go with data, go with readiness, go work with a professional, follow their advice, follow your instinct, and make an informed decision and do the thing that is right for you, regardless of where the market is heading or what the speculation says. So that is the number one thing that I have to point out.
Yeah, I mean, and you are one of the person who has a better understanding of data and structure,
Yes.
because that's what you have done in the IT sectors with the reading all these previous statistics and whatnot.
Right.
So tell my viewers that if someone wants to build their wealth, where do they start from?
Sure. If you want to start, and I'll make it very simple,
Please.
start with one property. And what do I mean by that? Instead of trying to build a portfolio or buy as many things or invest in as many things as possible, look for one solid, sustainable, and financially that's something that financially capable, or financially that something that makes sense for you financially. Look for a property, one property to start with, that has a good return, that you feel would be a great investment, and maintain it for the long term. Let the equity build up, let it give you the return, let it settle in, let it bake in, and then you can diversify yourself instead of trying to buy as many things. So it's not the number of properties or number of transaction or buying as many. It's not about the quantity. It's more about how you're setting your building block. So if you've never entered into this space, enter with one, nurture it, maintain it, set a long-term vision. Don't set a 30-year vision. Don't set a 1-year vision. Set yourself for like 5 to 7 years and see where you want to go with that. Because that is, I think, the sweet spot that you can fairly predict and work against or work towards, rather than trying to calculate your entire life for the next 30, 40 years.
Mofizul bhai, as because we do think that educated people have a better judgment of home buying process, right? What is one thing that you see that even the educated American have made the mistake when it comes to home buying?
Sure. One thing I would say that where people make mistake is ignoring the overhead cost or underestimating some of the overhead cost and focusing solely on just the price of the home. So there are other factors that sometimes people ignore. So for example, if you're saying educated, I'm assuming educated professionals who are somewhat well off in their life. They have
Yes.
decent
Have college
funding, yes,
degrees,
college
have
degree and a
a
job,
corporate
and
job.
and decent income.
Yes.
So some of the examples I can give is paying too much down payment because
Ah.
you're trying to reduce the loan and have less burden on you. Pay as much down payment as you can, but in the end, you don't have enough reserve left. You overlook the tax, or if there's a homeowners association HOA fee kind of situation, if there are other expenses that the house might incur if it's not in a great condition. Maybe the house needs some work or
Yes.
some kind of renovation, or maybe if it's an income property, maybe the rentability is not up to par compared to the cost or the price you're paying. So some of those calculations people sometimes make mistakes on, or sometimes they just don't take into effect or take into consideration all of those factors. So that's one of the areas that I would recommend people be a little bit wary. Just because you have a set amount of funding does not mean you would have to spend all of that. Have some reserve, look into other costs, and also see if you can diversify instead of putting all your money into one property. Maybe you can better use it into multiple, or look into other ways to better use your money. So that is one area, that this allocation of your funding and over committing or underestimating or not taking into account some of the additional cost that comes in with the homeownership.
Yes, that includes maintenance. What I
That
have
is true,
seen,
yes.
what mistake that I have made, although I'm not that educated, but a general
You are
person.
educated.
So I have completely miscalculated how much the maintenance would have cost me. Every month there is something is broken in the
Right,
house, and I have not thought of that. At least not the first year.
right, exactly.
So
Yep,
definitely
and
when you calculate, you gonna keep that in account.
right, exactly, because some of the things are very predictable and some of the things are not predictable. So you want to be ready for both situations.
Thank you, Mofizul Bhai. Now we are in the segment two, and segment two is actually tailored for my brothers and sisters who is grinding and trying to get in the real estate and wants to be successful like you in the short time. So you have 5 times your profit within the span of years. Tell my viewers how you did that.
Sure. Simple answer is by staying relentless. So a few things that worked in my favor is, first of all, I work with a broker, Mr. Badrul Chowdhury, who is, shout out to you, Badrul.
Shout out to Badrul Bhai.
Yes, he is a dear friend of mine for many years. I learned a lot from him. I joined this business through by getting inspired by his success, literally. So, and he has shared a lot of knowledge with me. He's a great mentor and a great friend. So that helped me ramp up very quickly in this business. That's one thing. And then, of course, staying as relentless and as dedicated as possible. Giving your time, understanding your client, connecting with people. A big shout out to the people from Bangladeshi community.
Yes.
Many of them have supported me. Many of them have contacted me. I was able to reach out to a lot of people, professionals of different walks of life. And these are driving factors in establishing your business and generating, success. There is also another factor of that helped me, I believe, in my pursuit so far, is making data-driven or making informed decision using data, using market analysis, market trend, and then just being on top of the game, trying to understand what's going on, what is happening, what people are looking for, and then execute accordingly.
There are a lot of IT startup, right? And you, instead of going to that route, you came into real estate. Do you treat this real estate sector as an IT startup?
Great, interesting question. In many ways, I do actually. The short answer is yes. There are similarities, different industry, different product, different type of work, different type of commitment, but the key, the central theme is same. Right? As I said in the earlier part, there is a start, there's a process in the middle, and then there's a finish. So yes, there's just as you would with any startup, you're trying to earn business, you're trying to establish yourself, you're trying to follow a set of process that leads to an end result. Pretty much the same analogy here. You are trying to work with, in this case, the product is my service. The stakeholders are my clients. So it's directly correlatable, even though they're two different worlds, two different industries, but the knowledge and the concept remains same.
Yes, great answer, Mofizul Bhai. Now, this question that I ask most agent, okay? Tell me one mistakes that you have made so that brothers or sister who is watching can avoid that.
Sure. I think I wouldn't necessarily call it a mistake, but there are areas of improvement. So one of those things that I feel I should have done right when I started was going full time in this work in this line of business. In the first year when I started, I was trying to maintain both sides. I was still maintaining my work and trying to do real estate stuff and nights and weekends. While it worked to some extent, it did not generate the level of traction that I expected. So my advice would be treat it, don't treat it as a side gig or a weekend hustle kind of thing. It is not. It may work for some people, it may work short term, but it's not sustainable for the long term. So invest your time, invest your energy, take it seriously, and then work towards a goal. Don't try to achieve or don't try to solve everything, but be dedicated, be your authentic self, and then work with integrity, and hard work will pay off.
All right, thank you, Mofizul Bhai. Now we're gonna start the segment 3, and segment 3 is not the favorite one for my
right,
guest.
let's get
Okay.
ready.
All right. um, does real estate has more money than IT?
Wow. Of course, it has tons of money. No,
Okay.
it may, it does, it may. It's hard to quantify one on one. IT is a broad area. Real estate is a completely different industry. It also has different parts, different levels of engagement. If somebody wants, there is money here. In my previous career, I was, doing well. So money was not a problem. However, I feel that there is opportunity in real estate, not just the money, but also it provides me flexibility, a sense of fulfillment. So yeah, it is a success. It is an area where one can achieve success. Money will come at the hard, with
Both
hard
ways.
work.
Money will come
Yeah,
both ways, right?
with hard work, dedication, and as you solidify yourself in this business, money will flow.
Well, now let me ask you this: is it easier? Does real estate sectors easier than IT sectors?
Again, it's hard to say if it's easy or hard, easier or harder. In some respect, it is. In some respect, it is not, because you're still dealing with, you're still responsible for delivering things. People are trusting you with $1 million decisions. So it may, on an outside, it may look super easy, but you're burdened, or you're given a lot of responsibility that you have to still fulfill and make sure that you're doing your due diligence and you're doing justice to your role.
What is one thing that you brought from IT sectors that you are executing in the real estate directly?
One of them would be time management. I know it's a little bit broader term, but it is important. It goes in many different ways. So managing your own time versus how much you're allocating to what you need to do, when you need to do, all of those things. Are you following up promptly? Are you reaching out to your clients? Are you reaching out to your counterparts, other agents, or what have you? Make sure that everything is being done with a reasonable sense of urgency. That is important, because again, if you're real kind of trying to tie it back to what I was doing in my earlier career, everything had a somewhat a time box feature. Like
Yes.
everything had a little bit of
Time.
a time
Deadline. Everything has
or
a due date.
exactly.
Or
So
everything,
something
right?
that needed to be done by X, Y, and Z. You
Yes.
don't have infinite time to go do everything you want and then just come back when you're ready. So yeah, execute against the time, or work against the time. So that is one of those things. And the other things are, again, sense of responsibility. Be responsible for your work. Understand that somebody's trusting you with their decision, with their, intention to buy or sell a property, or whatever capacity that you're trying to help them with. And also communication, which is super important.
Wow.
Do not leave your client in the dark. Communicate with them. Even if you don't have an update, tell them what you're doing to get
Get
to the
the
bottom of
update,
it.
yeah.
Keep them involved. Don't leave them in the dark for too long. Let them know that you're at it. If you need to reach out to a partner, a counterpart, an attorney, a loan officer, whichever party, make sure that you're connecting with all of them with reasonable urgency as much as possible, and then keep all parties informed at the right time so that information is flowed and everyone is well informed to make their decision and get this process moving.
Thank you very much, Mofizul Bhai. I am so grateful. I asked you only once and you said yes. You were in a very time constrained lifestyle. I know that,
Okay.
but I'm very grateful that you managed your time and came here. Give me two things, okay? One advice for your client, your buyer, or your sellers that you're waiting to hire you, and how do they reach you?
Sure. So for the clients, make your move. Don't wait for tomorrow because as as much as we can speculate how things are going, where things are going, how the market is shaping, how the rates are going, is it going to drop, is it going to crash? Instead of worrying about that, evaluate yourself and see if you're ready to make the move. If you like something, if you want something to happen, make it happen today. Don't wait for tomorrow. And to my buyers and sellers, if you wanted to reach me, my number is 917-482-5042. Once again, my number is 917-482-5042. You can call me anytime. It doesn't have to be just for buying or selling a home. If you have questions in general about real estate, your readiness, current trend, and where things are going, and what kind of support you need, I'm here to help you. So it's been a pleasure connecting with you. It's been a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mofizul Bhai. Guys, if you like this video, please go ahead, like, comment, share, subscribe. We have great episodes coming in. Phenomenal guests will be here. People with great knowledge are spending their time to give you the information that are, even though very common knowledge, unfortunately not common in the market. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Real Talk Real Estate.